was the first one. I think that's finding people in the haystack of a lot of people. If you look at this article, which is one from UWV, which is the VKB, the Public Employment Service of the Netherlands, and one of the problems they have that came out from a study from Deloitte is that they have 30,000 job seekers that might have had a job if they just could have found it. So they don't have a job because they didn't find it, because there's simply not a good system that lets them find it online, because they just look at what they need and they don't look broader. At VDAB, the Flemish Public Employment Service, there are over 180,000 vacancies and job seekers at any time. So finding that combination is, for me, mind-blowing. Next to that, then you have companies that should try to help you find that job. This is an email that I got suggesting jobs for me. Change manager, SAP, senior SQL, data engineer, whatever. All things that are really not relevant at all for me. So what do? Not relevant, unsubscribe, I don't read it anymore. So this is a perfect opportunity to help find those matches, so people send out emails, and it doesn't help you find a job. So the essence of it is this should be relevant. So the point is, coming back to what you said, is how can we help recruiters and job seekers find that perfect match? That is one of the biggest challenges that we've been working on. We've done it mainly for VDAB, and we have been working now for most of Belgium's large HR service providers and large companies, helping them to solve this in different ways. Because helping that, you can help the recruiter and you can help the job seeker. And I'll now deep dive a bit on how we did this and why AI can help you solve this. So just to make the problem a bit concrete, why is this difficult? Because we need to make machines read. How can we do that? So if you see this is like, let's say, a summary of a vacancy and a profile. And what you see here is that the vacancy says it requires, the job is in Elsene, it's a nanny job, the person, it's mentioned, needs to speak English and needs to drive the kids to school as a casual setting. If you look at the person, you see the summary of his or her profile. This could be a perfect match, but that's not an easy match for a computer to make, to understand that this is a match. Basically, nanny, EN for English, and license B for driving. So what we want to do is a system that can figure out that this is a match, that is actually a match. And why is this so important? If you have all of these things coming in, CVs and things you need to scan, these are the things that help you find the people that are relevant, is knowing that these things are matches. As people, that's really easy. That's like, okay, Elsene, Brussels, okay, it's easy. But for a computer, it is not. So AI can help you find and help you match candidates to jobs faster and better, because it cannot only do it cannot only automate the whole thing, it can go much broader, because it can have, let's say, the senior recruiter experience in one system. It's a combination of everything that multiple recruiters do. And I'll explain how it works. So, important, before we dive in how this specifically works, is what is AI? Because I'm not sure if everybody knows how we look at AI. And for us, and that's very important, AI on its own is not even a technology. If it is something, it's two things. It's a concept, or even maybe a dream of having computers be as smart as people. And two, it's an umbrella term for technologies trying to achieve that. It's nothing more than that today, and it started as a research field a long time ago. Now, to achieve artificial intelligence, there's multiple sets of technologies. The most promising one today, or the last 5 years at least, is what we call machine learning, which is a technology that learns from data. So it learns patterns in data that it can reuse. As an example, if you have images, which is the most speaking ones, detecting something in an image. How do you learn that? It's by feeding a lot of images to an algorithm and saying, this is a cat, this is a cat. And you give it thousands of pictures of cats, and at the end it learned why it is a cat. two eyes, mustache, I don't know how you say it, it's not happening in English. And it gets to know why that is a cat. And you feed it a picture it never saw, and it learned it's a cat because it learned those specific aspects. That's exactly the same technology we're using to do the matching. Now, within machine learning, then you have deep learning, which is in our world, the IT world, like, because this is something that is really special. This can achieve like the best version of machine learning, and it's just a specific breed of algorithms which we call deep neural networks. So if you talk about AI, most of the time people refer actually to this deep learning, because this is what has been achieving those breakthroughs, those things that are like on the news, like, oh, Facebook, two computers were chatting to each other and they killed them. That's that. They didn't talk to each other. We just didn't understand it, and it was not relevant. They like to blow it up in the news, but that's what they are mainly talking about. Now, how can we use that technology to make AI? And I still use the AI. And to be honest, as an AI company, we usually say AI is for marketing, machine learning is for the engineers, because if you talk about machine learning, nobody cares. So how can AI learn to read? It is very similar to how people learn to read. You need to understand words and the relation between words. So if I ask anyone here, do you know the word to? I hope there are some people that I've seen before. So please don't spoil it. But normally you should not know what the word is, because it's actually not an existing word. Well, not in common language. What if I tell you that my 2-year-old son, and he became two days ago, so I have to change the slide. What if I say when he's getting tired, he asks for his tu? Dutch-speaking people know it. I should have chosen another word, but some of them still don't know it. And what if I tell you that a tu, and this is literally like Google translated from Dutch, so I'm sorry for maybe a strange sentence, a tu is intended to satisfy the sucking needs of babies without giving them food or drinks. So most of you know that it's a pacifier. I didn't tell you from the beginning what it is. I didn't literally describe what it is, but based on the context, you know which word it is, what it means. And that's exactly the same way that computers learn words, by feeding it millions of text. And that's what the boom of AI is, because of all the data today, because most of those technologies exist already for 20 years. There's now massive amounts of data. Text, if you read the web, Wikipedia is one of the biggest sources there. The amount of text there, that's what we use to make machines learn words and learn how they relate. And this is a typical example. They can actually start counting with words, doing mathematical formulas with words. So if I ask you, him minus man plus women, we say?
Queen.
Yes. And that's actually what happens if you really, so these words are being represented, and that's the more technical way of showing it, as vectors, as numerical representations. So if you calculate with those vectors, that's actually what you can do with it. Now, what does it mean, or how does it look for HR? This is those sets of vectors that we made based on millions of vacancies and CVs we have. So what you see is, if you type in the word nanny, it will zoom in into a specific cluster of words. So it's literally like what we call as a vector space, a space full of words. It will just find all the words that are in the area. And you can see here, if you type in nanny, that's the first word that is related. And you can get a list of words that are related to that specific term. Words that are synonyms, but words that are related as well. So that's how you can learn this skill or this job title is related to this job title or this skill. And that's where it becomes interesting, because that's the tricky part. If you need to screen a CV and a vacancy, because everybody uses a different word for the same thing. The amount of ways you can write Microsoft Excel, it's incredible if you start looking in the data. And that's also the big challenge. Matching technology is not super new. They've been trying to do this for 20 years, but they failed. Why? Because they didn't have this kind of technology to learn it. How did they do it? They wrote rules. If you have a diploma in psychology, you can work in HR. But if you have to write a rule for every word in the natural language, have fun. It's not me that is going to do it. So they suck basically those technologies. Now, because we can do this, this is an example. We give a blob of text, it goes a bit fast, but what it does is it reads the text. There's just a screen cap from a demo environment. It reads the text and it will extract literally all the words that it can see, the soft skills, languages, education, and other skills it can find back. And not only that, if you do that, and that's a vacancy that's one of our vacancies. Normally I can say, if you're looking for a job, but I don't get it, I guess there will be not a lot of machine learning engineers here. So it extracts all the things that are relevant. And you can see here, software engineering, if you click on it, it will immediately show to which other skills or terms this is related. So what can you do then with it? If you have a vacancy, you extract a number of skills. You have the same for a profile. And as an example, of course, this is written differently. But the system now knows that MS Office and Microsoft Office, that's a match. It also knows that deep learning, the technology that we use, and TensorFlow is a match. Why? Because they came back in the same context. And TensorFlow is actually a tool that we use to implement deep learning systems. So none of you probably even knew this, and there's a lot of recruiters or people that done recruitment. So this system knows it, and it knows it for almost any industry because we have that amount of data. Data analytics and data analysis. Now, here it becomes even more interesting. It also knows that this person knows Python. Why? Because TensorFlow is a tool to implement deep learning in Python. And it doesn't have to be literally in person's CV. It's just because the person mentions TensorFlow. Now, for cloud, we didn't find an indication that this person knows it. There's two things here, and that's always something that we have to be careful with. One, this doesn't mean the person doesn't know it, it just means it's not in the CV. The cool thing is, you see here, we can see what's in there and what not. I'll come back to that later. Now, that's coming back to the emoji. That's nice because now we can actually match complex natural language with each other and really automate the process of screening, which I think is not something you like to do, looking at CVs and vacancies all day. Now, how is it being used today? First of all, it's job recommendations. You've seen the example of the crappy email. Well, we don't send out crappy emails anymore. We send out emails with relevant vacancies, knowing that this person will be interested in it. What you also do is at VDAB, you have your profile at VDAB, and you can ask for job suggestions, and you'll get a list of suggestions based on your profile. So how does it look? That's my colleague, Florian, a co-founder, and that's his profile on VDAB. So he's put in some stuff. That's literally what is in there in the system. It boils down to some competencies, which is business analysis, responsibilities in IT, and then some typical competencies from VDAB. What does our system do? It reads this, it extracts what is relevant, and it will find out in the 180,000 vacancies which vacancies are relevant for it. And just so if you notice, because you like this, here's not smiling, here's smiling. And why? This might seem a bit strange to say that this is good. You won't find vacancies for the co-founder of a technical startup on VDAB. But seeing his profile, which is about 3 or 4 years of experience in data science and as a project manager, this is really relevant. These are really relevant suggestions. And the fact that he's from Gent. Where is it also being used? For skill gap analysis. So that's what you saw with the cloud, which was not a part of vacancy. We can do the same. These are screenshots from our tool that we use for this. So you have a candidate, you extract the skills. You have a vacancy, you extract the skills. This is then the bundle of skills you have for a candidate, the bundle of skills you have for a vacancy, and then you can combine the two collections and see these two skills are not available, are not in the person's profile. So in this case, it's punctuality and safety or security. What can you do with that? So one, the person can know and learn from this. I might need the skills to do this. or I should fill them in with my vacancy, so I in my profile so it will match this vacancy. Or what can you do with it as well? Suggesting trainings and e-learnings. That's the next way of using this technology. Is if you know the gap, the same technology can read the content and descriptions of e-learnings and of trainings. So what it does, it reads those things, it figures out which skills are part of this e-learning or part of this training, and it will connect them to the skill gap that was identified. So you go from matching a person to a job, and to be honest, there are not a lot of white ravens that have all the skills, so they usually have something missing. You match, you find the best match, you find what is missing, and you can link them directly to education to help them fill up that gap. And this becomes more and more relevant because skills are evolving so fast. And if you want, I can talk about this a half an hour as well, but I only have a couple of minutes left, on why AI will change, and that's maybe a spoiler or cliffhanger for the next time, why, and I really believe that it will change the profession of HR, both in the content, because this can automate not only this part of the process, but like you will see in the other use cases, it can automate a lot of things. So it won't only change the content, but also the HR profession on its own, because there will be a whole new way of looking at how to fill in jobs. The complexity of tasks that we can now automate is much more than what we could do 5 years ago. And the evolution that we have right now will really make the HR profession change a lot. And that's why I think, and that's what I want to end with, is I really think, and that's something I don't see in a lot of big companies, that an HR person should be at the desk making strategic decisions. If I see in Radix, and we're very small, I know, but if I see how important it is to have the right skills at the right moment and know where they need to go, because in our technology, every week there's something new, literally every week, every month there's a whole new technology that we should use. And that will happen in, I think, almost any job. So if the company is not thinking about it strategically and having someone strategically saying, okay, this is where we need to go, I think they go overboard. So that's where I want to stop. And I think I'm on time. Yes.